Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing the astrology report for the week commencing 28th of February, highlighting some of the key transits taking place and some of the key changes and what they mean for us. And I also just need to quickly review something from last week because I wasn't able to do a report then due to unforeseen circumstances. But before I go into all of that, I just want to confirm that, or explain that astrology doesn't control us or anything like that. Astrology is merely a way of understanding patterns of energy and how they influence us, because each planet is like a lens which channels the energy from the sun in a different way, and it all gets reflected back to us and affects us in different ways. But how much it affects us really depends on how open and conscious we are. The more self-aware we are, the more we understand our own nature, our own minds, the less influence astrology really has, because we kind of liberate our own free will and we're less affected by unconscious desires and unconscious drives. And at which point the astrology is just a useful guide of what's happening around us and how we can best make use of it and potentially understand how other people are responding at this time. Now, I'll just quickly review something that happened last week, but which I couldn't cover because I wasn't able to do a report. This was that Juno moved out of Aquarius into Pisces, where she's going to stay for the best part of 2 months. Now, with Juno in Pisces, it's the last sign of the zodiac, and it's in terms of soulmate connections, which Juno represents, is that urge for a sacred partnership that has a transcending quality to it. It's very spiritual and based on unconditional love and based on a transcendent desire. So beyond the desires of the flesh, it's about sacred union and merging with a higher power, so that the relationship is based on universal love, based on compassion, and based on psychic sensitivity and empathy. So during this time we may have a strong desire for a soulmate connection like that. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to connect with someone new. We can always try and develop this with the people that we already have strong boundaries or strong connections with. Because Juno doesn't just rule soulmate in terms of a romantic partnership, it also deals with business relationships which are closer than just a mutual association. It also deals with partnerships like between a student and a teacher, and also with very close friendships which are much deeper than a casual association, and both parties know each other very well. Juno also operates here, so it's any relationship that is more than just a casual association, where both parties know each other deeper than an average relationship or an average attraction. So Juno here is prompting us all to develop greater empathy, compassion, and understanding within the realms of our deepest and closest relationships, and also learn to channel universal love rather than just personal, egoic love. Because with the ego, it's conditional; it's based on keep making us happy, whereas with Pisces, we're talking about a need for that universal love. It kind of helps that Venus is also in Pisces at this point, because Venus is that personal love and the initial attraction between two people. So with both of them being in the same sign, it kind of reinforces this need in relationships for compassion, universal love, and a deeper empathy and understanding for one another, rather than judgment and need to control one another. Now, going back to this week, I'll, as usual, go through the moon's transits. So we have the moon starting off in Leo, so emotionally we may have that need for connecting with our creativity, just being who we are, engaging in self-expression, tapping into or having a play with our creative gifts, and also sharing them with others and encouraging other people to play and to open up, relax, and be creative with what they have. Then on Thursday, the moon will enter Virgo, so this is about that emotional need for developing order or getting things structured and ordered in our daily lives. Could be emotional need to focus on our health and making sure that what we're eating is healthy and good for the body. Then we've also got, on the following day, we have the full moon in Virgo, so I'll go into a bit more detail of that in a bit and also do a separate report on it. But this is also going to be about balancing the Virgo Pisces axis. So with the Sun in Pisces, we're talking about the need for kind of developing universal love to dissolve the ego, ready for the next cycle of growth when the Sun enters Aries. And the Moon in Virgo is about order and practicality, so it's not escaping to dreamland, it's not escaping to illusions, it's being practical and being methodical. The Moon moves on Saturday into Libra, so this is a time where we may have that emotional need for partnership, for connection, and working together on a project. And it could just be that need for one-to-one time with someone, and feeling, spending time with others rather than spending time alone. And then on Monday, the Moon will enter Scorpio, and this is a time where emotionally may have old conditioning brought to the surface, so we may feel old resentments, old grudges or anything like that come to the surface, or past hurts. But this really gives us an opportunity each month to feel what's going on within our deeper mind and release emotional patterns rather than leaving them there so they continue to undermine our well-being, undermine our relationships. Now going back to the full moon, so with the full moon in Pisces, Neptune's going to be close by to the Sun. It's not going to be exact, but the Sun's moving towards Neptune. This is going to really amplify the Piscean side of things, so it's that need for dissolving everything which we no longer need or doesn't belong in its current stage of development and has outlived its usefulness. Pisces dissolves from that. It helps us to surrender the need to control things, and it helps us surrender old attachments that don't serve us anymore. And if we continue, they may have served a purpose at some point in our lives, so they're necessary for a period, but now they've outlived their usefulness, and now they're just a weight on our back. And if we're going to achieve any new growth in the next cycle, we've got to get rid of all of the old baggage, get rid of anything that doesn't serve the next cycle, so that there's space for new things to happen. Because if the cup is full to overflowing, it can't have any new, nothing new can enter it. So periodically we have to empty the cup in order to fill it with new information, new experiences and new ways of being. So this is what the Sun in Pisces is doing, and with Neptune nearby this is amplified, so it may feel greater psychic sensitivity as well. There's also that need for compassion and universal love, but that's only going to happen if we work on ourselves. We can't expect someone else to give it to us if we don't know how to give that to ourselves, because we have to be able to love ourselves in order to receive love from other people, and then for us to be able to give love to other people as well requires that we have that love for ourselves. So this is a key period of spending time in stillness, focusing on the relationship we have with ourselves, and learn to open up to universal love and let it flow through us, let it soothe us, let it heal us. But with Sun in Pisces, we can also, if we're not careful, get bogged down in illusions and deception, and we can end up engaging in escapism behaviour rather than behaviour that is about transcending egoic drives and letting universal love guide us instead of egoic drive. So this is where the Moon in Virgo serves as a balancing point and will help to keep us grounded, keep us focused in the present. Remember that, because if we engage with the body and do things like exercise can help to realign the mind or help to balance it by releasing any energy through vigorous activity. And it's also about our physical health. So if we eat the right kind of foods, if we eat healthy food, that can help raise the vibration of the body and give us energy that is natural, so it's naturally uplifting rather than artificial. And by working through the body, we can help balance the mind and bring it under control, so we're less likely to engage in escapism. But we have to make the choice to do that. It's not something that's forced upon us. But if we want to experience these high states of reality, we also have to be grounded. If we're not grounded, then we're going to be very liable to illusion. So the Moon in Virgo is saying it's all well and good to have all these dreams, but be grounded, be practical as well. Don't allow dreams to undermine health, or don't allow illusions or escapism behaviour to set in. Remain grounded and stay focused, and bring the mind into balance as well. So that's the full moon. Now we have on Tuesday, Mercury is going to be moving signs. So it's been in Pisces for the past few weeks, but Mercury's now moving into Aries. So it's come to the end of one cycle and start of a new one. And in March itself, Mercury's going to be retrograde completely within the sign of Aries. So during this time, we've had Mercury in Pisces. It's been about accepting the fact that we don't know everything. It's becoming comfortable with the unknown, and it's allowing the mind or the thinking patterns to be transformed through things like universal love, compassion, empathy, and transforming the way we communicate, so that when we're speaking with other people, we're using compassion and empathy rather than judgment and becoming a clash of egos. Now, with Mercury moving into Aries, this is a time for where many of that emotional or mental need for assertiveness. It's that beginning of the cycle where information is new, we're not entirely sure about things at the moment, but it's that mental need for action to take. So it's about understanding what we want to be creating, what seeds we need to sow, and then it's remaining assertive enough to make sure we don't get pulled off of these new beginnings, because whenever we're trying something new and it's something other people may not understand, we can face resistance to that from other people, or people may question what we're doing, and we may need that Mercury in Aries to remain assertive, but so that we're not pulled off track. But the main thing we also have to be trying to achieve is mental objectivity. So the mind isn't being swayed by emotional patterns, it's not being swayed by anger or the need to try and prove ourselves to other people. It's about having that objective mindset that allows us to see, right, if we've got this goal, these are the actions that need to be taken, this is the plan in order to make it happen. But now I've got to remain objective, remain clear-headed, and make sure that whatever actions we're taking are still aligned with universal law. We're not doing something that's rash, impulsive, that's going to get other people hurt. We're still being mindful, we're still being careful, and making sure that the actions we take are honest, they're thought out, and they're aligned with a goal and aligned with spiritual direction. So whatever goals we're setting, or whatever actions we take, it's important that we make sure that those actions are decided by the soul or the high mind rather than the ego, which by nature is impulsive. It's often goes all over the place and is pursuing one thing then another without any clear direction. So it's important that we establish what direction we want to be going in, what goal it is we want to achieve, and make sure then that we are taking the necessary actions that are honest, careful and considerate, and the ones necessary to make a dream happen or make the goals start happening. To an effect, Mercury's passage into Aries is the start of the transition from out of Pisces and into Aries to mark the beginning of a new cycle of growth. But Mercury, so our mind is going there first, or the rational mind is taking that step first before the sun does. Now, in terms of other aspects, on Thursday itself, we have the exact trine between Venus and Jupiter. So during this time, this serves as, with these two together, the two benefics of the chart. It's about relationships that cultivate deeper understanding. It's about relationships that prompt greater growth, greater understanding, and this can also bring about a greater degree of tolerance for people. So, and it's also looking at our values and making sure that the value system that we're using isn't it's not based around the ego, it's based around spiritual values, and it's making sure that, because with Venus being in Pisces and Jupiter in Scorpio, Jupiter is transforming or bringing to awareness our own unconscious mind and helping us to understand where our own shadow is driving things. And with Venus in Pisces, it's about transforming relationships through universal love. So the two together is about creating relationships that promote greater growth, promote sharing attitudes, merging of power to create a greater whole that's far greater than the sum of its two parts. But it also needs to be a relationship that's mutually empowering. It doesn't serve one person at the expense of another. So during this, with this particular trine, there's a lot of energy that can help us to focus on developing greater love, releasing the past, letting go of old attachments through love and through compassion. Now we also have an exact trine between Mercury and Jupiter at the weekend, and this is a time for where our understanding of the microcosm and the macrocosm are ideally in sync. So what I mean by this is we understand how the microcosm and the macrocosm fit into each other. They're mirrors of each other. So we understand both the big picture and we understand the importance of the small details and how each bit fits together into a greater whole. So it's being able to see the trees and the forest rather than just one or the other. So with this, it's an opportunity to expand the mind, expand frontiers of our potential, because as it stands, a lot of us are only using a small amount of mental capacity. There's so much more that we have the capacity to do, but in order for us to do that, we have to be willing to expand our minds beyond their current limits and be willing to recognise where we've been wrong in the past, where our understanding has been too limited or hasn't had sufficient detail for us to truly get what the actual truth is. So humility is a key part of this as well. It's having the courage to admit, okay, I was actually wrong about this, I didn't understand this as well as I thought, but I see now where I got things wrong, and I can see how things really fit into the big picture, and I'm prepared to make changes to attitudes and thought patterns and beliefs in order to align with this higher truth. But we have to make that choice ourselves. It's not guaranteed to be that way. If we choose to remain stubborn and cling on to our beliefs, then we may cling on to the wrong way of thinking or the wrong perceptions and see any challenge to our belief as a threat and a threat to ourselves, rather than it being an opportunity to let go of the wrong understanding of something and embrace a higher understanding. But we have to make that choice ourselves. We have to be willing to accept when we've been wrong and to adjust our actions and adjust our attitudes and adjust our thinking patterns accordingly. But it's a harmonious aspect, so if we choose to make that shift, then the free-flowing energy can help us to make that attunement fairly easily. But as I said, it's our personal choice. We have to do that ourselves. The other key aspect is the Sun is going to be in exact conjunction with Neptune on Sunday the 4th. So the Sun in Neptune is an opportunity for a person. It's almost, in effect, whenever a planet is conjunct one of the outer planets, like the Sun will be with Neptune, it's a bit like a new moon as such, except the Sun serves the purpose of the moon and the outer planet serves as like the Sun normally does. So this is an opportunity for new beginnings in terms of having our sense of identity based on the soul self or our spiritual self rather than the ego, and it's an opportunity for us to embrace a higher vision or get in touch with our own dreams or the dreams of the collective and figure out what can we do or what changes can we make to ourselves so we can help bring about this universal love and become an embodiment of that universal love rather than someone who just talks about it but doesn't actually understand it or doesn't embody it. So this is a time for going inwards. It's a time for stillness. at the moment, with all the planets currently direct, there's a lot of impetus or pressure to be pushing, to be driving forwards. But with the Sun conjunct Neptune, this is a reminder to be still and remember that for us to receive a new vision or understand new insights or figure out, or for us to receive that universal love, we have to learn to be still rather than constantly moving. It's okay for us to not be doing anything. We don't have to be constantly taking action the way we're told by society. Sometimes it's necessary for us to have that downtime, to have that personal time to meditate, spend time figuring out who we are, and looking at or figuring out what dreams do we want to be manifesting in the next astrological cycle. Because we're coming to the end of the period of planning for the next astrological year. We're coming to the end of dreaming what we want to be creating. And in March, when the Sun enters Aries, that's when it's time to really start taking actions on those dreams. So we need to use this time wisely to figure out what we want to be creating in the next cycle. Because once the Sun moves into Aries, we need to be taking action then, rather than still figuring out what we want to be doing, or just dreaming without doing anything. So there's a lot to take on board for this week, but there's a lot of harmonious energy to help us during this period. The key thing, most of all, is that we need to be spending time in stillness, spending time in silence, and through meditation, figuring out what do we want to be creating over the course of the next astrological year, and what steps do we need to take when it comes to taking action in order to make those dreams happen. So this is the period of preparation before the main thrust of growth starts at the beginning of the next cycle. So I hope this useful guide for the week. May it bring you many blessings, and may the upcoming year bring you much growth and much transformation. Take care, be blessed.